And RONJIE.COM from Tokyo Polytechnic University currently is going to present the report.
Good afternoon. My name is Aquino. As mentioned, I'm with Tokyo Polytechnic University. I'm also a member of the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers Disaster Mitigation and Preparedness Strategies Committee, which my co-author, Dr. Pacheco, is the chairperson. Anyway, the title of our presentation is Typhoon Engineering in the Philippines. We use the word typhoon engineering, but we believe it's basically synonymous to wind-related disaster risk reduction. So we introduced this term in the Philippines in 2005, although we're not really the first to use the term typhoon engineering. The idea is typhoon engineering, pretty much like earthquake engineering, it's a multidisciplinary field, so it involves a lot of fields like wind engineering and so on. Primarily because typhoons themselves have multiple effects and multiple phenomena that go along with it. So, of course, there's the strong winds, there's the heavy rain, but there's a lot of other things that are brought about by typhoons. Well, one example I'd like to point out is evacuation, rescue, and recovery difficulties. For example, in 2004, there were 4 tropical cyclones in a row in the Philippines, and so the succeeding tropical cyclones made it difficult to do rescue and recovery activities for the first strong typhoon. So, in terms of typhoons in the Philippines, I apologize, I'm not going to show a lot of, any photos at all, but just talk about these numbers and stuff. But in the Philippines, basically typhoons is the worst type of natural disaster. So let's say comparing to floods or non-typhoon related floods compared to, let's say, earthquake-related disasters, there's just much more number of typhoon disasters than all these. So this is the top 4 disasters. So even if you combine these events, so there's just much more killed, much more number of people affected, much more damages. So that's looking at total numbers. Looking at individual events, these are top 10 natural disasters that say in this table by number of people killed. You can see number 1 and number 3. There's our last 2 big earthquakes, but number 2 is typhoon in 1991. And a few there are also typhoon-related disasters. In terms of total number of people affected, definitely typhoons are comprised 9 of the top 10 disasters, individual disasters. In terms of number of damages, so typhoons again, basically they're very prominent in these, let's say, top 10 lists of natural disasters. So this is, by the way, practically more than 100 years data, and maybe some events have not been recorded because of lack of, recording technologies or what in earlier years, but basically, so it's quite a long year. This one's one of the latest ones to affect us last year. I'm sure you've heard it in the news. That typhoon hit our capital itself with floodwaters as high as around 2 meters. In terms of frequency of occurrence in the Philippines, basically tropical cyclones that affect the Philippines, or this is the plot of number of tropical cyclones per year from 1948 to around 2005. Basically, so these are total tropical cyclones entering the Philippine area of responsibility. So not necessarily landfalling, but of these tropical cyclones, 9 of them are landfalling. So I would think that's probably the most number of landfalling tropical cyclones for any country in the world, but anyway, I'm not sure about that. In terms of, so this is practically the same plot, but divided by intensity. Basically what they're says is there's about 5 landfalling typhoon level tropical cyclones in the Philippines. So it's quite significant, and definitely, so well, to summarize that first part, typhoons in the Philippines are the worst type of natural disaster. It has caused a large total deaths and damages over the past century, and maybe even before the last century. So floods, non-cyclone related floods, large earth mass movements, and earthquakes only come second, third, and fourth respectively. But I guess like almost anywhere in the world, the focus has been on earthquake disaster risk reduction or earthquake engineering. For example, in the 1990s, so there was this, the last big earthquake in the Philippines was in 1990, and so in the 1990s, that decade, the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers and the Association of Structural Engineers in the Philippines started this disaster quick response program, but basically it focused on post-earthquake response and recovery, meaning if an earthquake occurs, so the activities, only are there any activities that are being done, like inspection and stuff like that. And also the focus was earthquake, as I mentioned. But in 2004, the more comprehensive DMAPS program was launched by the Philippine Institute of Civil Engineers to complement the DPRP program with the intention of not just focusing on post-disaster response and recovery and not just earthquakes, so it's sort of a multi-hazard kind of thing. As I mentioned earlier, this is the committee that I'm also a member of. DMAP stands for Disaster Mitigation and Preparedness Strategy. In 2010, we sort of started to, well, using the same acronym, sort of, we inserted the word adaptation into there as well. Talking about, considering climate change, of course, has been a big issue of late. Now, just talking about the original 5 strategies, so the S in DMAP's need strategies. We have these 5 strategies, namely disaster mapping, hazard mapping, vulnerability mapping, so mostly mapping activities, and that's also the acronym DMAP. So the idea with the number 1 to number 3 is that these are done at the local level, so let's say at the city level and so on, and coordination will be done at the national level. And then strategy number 5 is training and education, basically. More specific plans of the PICE DMAPS program are as follows. So this is basically, the DMAPS program is basically an initiative by the engineering community. But of course, we intended to extend our linkages formally with, well, at both national and local area level with the government, such as the Office of Civil Defense, National Disaster Coordinating Council, and local government units, and with NGOs like Red Cross. Raising funds, of course, is there. Formalizing and issuing guidelines, standards, manuals, inspection toolkits, training of trainers and volunteers, certification of trainers and volunteers, and of course gathering data on historical disasters, natural hazards, and vulnerabilities to create those maps that are part of our strategy. So I've sort of put a check on the items we've sort of accomplished already. For the other 2 items, we've done a little bit. There's a little bit of funding, but we still need to come up with some funding, and well, these go together, I guess. We haven't done much here as well, but we're doing a few things in that sense. 2 minutes. So efforts, so recent efforts in typhoon engineering, as I said, we introduced that concept in 2005. We're inviting people to practice typhoon engineering. We established linkages with our meteorological agency. We've just started with a roadmap for updating our natural wind hazard map, although we haven't updated it yet to the level of quality we would like. In terms of reducing typhoon vulnerability, we believe the wind design code is the first level or first line of defense, and so we believe we let's say, attend the APEC WW workshops as members of the DMAX committee, and we also actively participate in the code update committee for we've also started coming up with pre-event and post-event inspection forms, but we haven't really finalized these. And just this year we held a workshop, well, not us, but we were also participating in this workshop on earthquake and severe wind exposure and vulnerability, which was actually co-organized by DSI, Australia, and Pag-asa. So in summary, in the Philippines, there's frequent typhoon occurrence, significant total deaths and damages, and we recognize the need for typhoon engineering or wind-related disaster risk reduction, which we believe is a multidisciplinary effort. So we're engineers, civil engineers, but we're hoping we could do a lot of collaboration with other fields. And we've established DMAX with 5 resilience strategies. We sort of need to, well, anyway, funding is a bit of a problem now, particularly funding and resources in general, as similar to, let's say, New Zealand, there's more focus still on earthquake engineering. And so that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Are there any short questions not related to funding? Because
yes, you said pre-inspection. So what kind of inspection is it?
Basically, it's related to...
Preventive inspection.
Yeah, something like that. So it's related to like vulnerability mapping. So you can sort of identify before a typhoon or another hazard comes, or realizes which areas might be most vulnerable.
yes, Richard.
I think my thought, whether or not we do this is hard to do. It seems to me that the way
Sorry.
Typhoon
Yeah, actually, so.
wind engineering.
Oh, okay, yeah. Of course, let's say there's a significant, well, there's groups, let's say, focusing on flood control engineering and stuff like that. Wind engineering itself, no one. Well, not so much yet. I started last semester giving a course of wind loading, at least, but so we're just really starting in that sense.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. The next report is coming from